Hi, I'm Stacy, and we are in Las Vegas at the HIMSS annual conference, where the brightest minds in health IT meet to innovate and plan for the future. You're watching TechVision Live, and if you're tuning in for the first time, this is our CDW's live interactive show where we'll ask you some questions and you can ask some back to us and we'll get them answered live during the show. So we've got some great experts and technology to share with you today. But before we get started, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves right in the comments and get ready for TechVision Live. Welcome back. It's great to see so many of you joining us today, and I am so excited for this next interview. This is Gina Bake. She is CDW's senior care expert, and honestly is one of my favorite people at HIMSS every year. I mean it.
You're so sweet.
So Gina,
you're my favorite too.
Oh, okay. Well, here's what I always love talking to you because your passion for what you do always comes through. So could you just take a minute and tell us, how did you get into senior care, and tell us a little bit about CDW's commitment to the senior care space?
You know, it's like right time at the right time of your life, and I was given an opportunity to support folks that are over the age of 85 inside of a senior care community, and they asked me to engage and see if the greatest generation would adopt technology. That's how I met CDW, because I actually needed someone to help me deploy the technology in a scalable fashion. And I met our VP at the time, Bob Rossi, and he was like not only engaged, but he also saw the future pretty clearly, like 9 years ago, that this was happening, the demographic shift. I was joking, now we're trendy because the silver tsunami is everywhere, and we were talking about it years in advance. What's really great is that CDW saw it, they had the vision, and they felt we wanted to do this right. They brought me on board to really drive this business practice, to really transform care and make a difference with this population that impacts everybody. So super exciting.
It's awesome. And what's fascinating to me is just to think about, 9 years ago, where we were, where care, the continuum of care was then, and where it is now and where it's going. So what do you see for the future of senior care and the care continuum?
Well, the one thing is digital health is exploding, and they use this word all the time, but what it means to senior care is that you have folks that can adopt technology, which they're seeing a more tech-savvier older adult, which is awesome. But you also have technologies that's being created for real people, which when you kind of start to see that, there's this nexus that's happening where there's older populations adopting technology, using it and living it, which is really starting to kind of optimize workflow inside of senior care facilities, optimize workflow in healthcare. And then at the end of the day, the more people using it, the more opportunity to transform the overall care continuum. So I think we have a massive opportunity, and we're right there to see it happen.
Wow. So exciting times in how care is evolving. And CDW is really grateful to be a part of it. So Gina, thank you so much. And now everybody, you have a chance to participate with us. So we have a poll question. What technology do you think is most valuable to the patient? So go ahead and answer in the comments, and we'll have results for you in just a bit. So stay tuned. And we're back. Thanks for taking the poll question. You still have time to submit your answers. But I am here now with David Frumpkin, who is CDW Healthcare's digital business architect. So that's interesting. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
What I do is I work with healthcare clients to take analog processes and help them apply technology to either optimize the costs or improve patient care.
Okay, so I imagine that these days that involves the Internet of Things. So how is that impacting your world?
Well, the Internet of Things, it provides us the ability to measure more consistently. So think about capturing the data. prior to this, you would use a stopwatch to measure process times. I could put technology in place and know the workflow through a hospital system or an OR.
Okay, so with all that new data that's being captured, I imagine that has a big impact on infrastructure.
Absolutely. And the problem is the data is also bursty, is unpredictable. So you're going to have to change your architectures to have more edge compute, have to have different considerations about how it flows. You're also going to do aggregation, beyond hybrid of centralized data servers to cloud. You're also going to have multiple clouds. So you're going to have clouds of clouds.
Clouds upon clouds.
It's going to be very cloudy.
Very cloudy.
IoT.
All right, so what's your best advice, okay, for people that are just trying to get in here and understand and implement a solution that's going to work? What's your best advice for them?
Well, start off with a business need. Work with your clinicians, work with the people in your business to determine where are the gaps. Then find a technology which addresses those, and optimally a technology that not only addresses those specific challenges, but also allows you to extend it so you can get additional value down the road.
All right, well, thank you very much. We so appreciate it. And you're gonna have an opportunity here in a bit to ask questions. So we're gonna be doing a live Q&A with Gina in just a bit. So ask your questions in the comments. And before then, we have some exciting technology to share with you about security. So a big topic in healthcare, big topic with Internet of Things. So stay tuned for this demo.
Hey Stacy, we've got something really special to share. I'm here with Mark Lockneat, Manager of Information Security Solutions for CDW Healthcare. We're going to be talking about CDW's Threat Check and some cool security capabilities. So Mark, what exactly is CDW's Threat Check?
So Threat Check is a complimentary service that we provide for our customers, and essentially I like to think of it as kind of a malware bug hunt. We send out a server that's preloaded with some cutting-edge software, and we look at your network for a couple of weeks and essentially try to determine if there's anything suspicious going on. So we look at internet user activity, we look for signs of malware, internet attacks, and also look for unpatched servers, systems, things like that that could contribute to the insecurity of your network.
And what are some of the tools that CDW's Threat Check uses to do this type of monitoring?
So right now we have three main tools. So one is Cisco Firepower, which has intrusion detection capabilities, and we also have Cisco AMP, and that lets us look for files that are being transferred across the network that maybe have suspicious content in them, like malware or something like that. The other thing that we're currently using is what's called Tenable, formerly called Passive Vulnerability Scanner. And this is a software package that can find outdated software, it can find unpatched servers, server misconfigurations, and then report on that so you can figure out where some of the weak spots in your network are.
Cool, so and then you guys send a report of your findings to your customers?
Yeah. So it's a multi-step process. We have kind of an interview where we talk about best practices, so it's not entirely technical. We start by asking a lot of questions about how the organization works, how users are provisioned, how the network is set up, what kind of tools are in place, with the goal being that we're trying to identify practices and procedures that people can follow to improve their security without necessarily purchasing anything. Once that's done, we set out a server for about 2 weeks. We actively monitor it, and we look for shifty things going on the network, and then report that back. And then we give the customer a chance to play with the tools and do their own digging and investigation if they want to.
And then you send a report of your findings to your customer?
Yeah. So it's a multi-step process. We start with an interview where we talk about a bunch of best practices in terms of how the organization provisions users, how they have antivirus, what products are in place, and so on. The idea being is that we might be able to identify some practices and procedures that the organization could adopt to reduce their risk. Once we've done that, we send out the server with the software, the Cisco Firepower and the Tenable software, and we monitor the network for a couple of weeks, look for anything that looks suspicious, and then report that back. We also leave the customer some time to play around with the tools if they want to afterwards.
Great, Mark, thank you for sharing. For more information on CDW's Threat Check, go to www.cdw.com/threatcheck. Now let's get to some poll results.
All right, those poll results are in. And was that a surprise to you that patient portals came out #1?
No, I'm not surprised at all, actually. CDW did our own research about how does, especially an elder patient, engage with patient portals, and we saw great engagement, much more than I think people realize.
What do you think?
It's probably consistent, and people are more informed. They're trying to get more data and being self-driven to do things for their own health.
Agreed. I think the idea of patient empowerment makes a lot of sense. You control your data, you control your health. So yeah, that's great. All right.
Generation's going away. And the greatest generation is going away, so baby boomers are more tech savvy.
Right. All the more, all the time. All right, so we have a few questions from the audience. David, this one is for you. How do you actually define IoT in the context of home health care?
I look at IoT in home healthcare and think of it as a tool to provide data as to how the senior's living. Are they mobile? Are they going out? Are they eating correctly? Are they taking their meds? We can censor the environment in such a way and be unobtrusive about it. It allows us to make sure that they're self-managing.
Great. And let's see, Gino, this one's for you. What does IoT mean in the home care setting? And what are the opportunities and challenges?
Well, I think the biggest thing is with hospital readmissions, where we're seeing that 50% of those readmissions are coming from the older population. And oftentimes it has to do with how they are actually self-reporting their information. If you put IoT, talk to you what David mentioned, if you put IoT like home automation in that engagement, you're actually getting data that maybe is more reliable than self-reporting. And I think that gives you an opportunity to actually have more compliance and more accuracy. And so I think there's a huge opportunity there. Ultimately, I think with the disabled population, especially in underserved senior care population, the automation aspect, like for example, something as simple as turning on and off a light can make a huge difference, especially with falls. Imagine a senior who is fumbling through the night trying to grab that light switch and then ends up falling. If we could prevent falls in general just through some simple automation, we could really start to change and transform that support system at home.
Well, that's super cool. So Alexa, lights on right here. All right, so David, last question for you. Okay, in a quest to improve patient experience, deliver better outcomes and lower costs, how can IoT help?
IoT can provide the measurement. You can't change something unless you have measurements. So how do we measure compliance today? We don't. We don't know if the patient's taking their meds. How do we measure the cycle times in a hospital relative to the OR workflows? We don't. So to optimize the situation, you've got to measure. And IoT is a great passive way of measuring.
Awesome. Any parting thoughts?
No, I do believe it's the wave of the future. I believe that in order to really support an ecosystem where we know that you're going to age in place, and majority of the patients prefer to have that home engagement, I think that IoT will make a huge difference.
Awesome. Well, that's all for now, everyone. If we didn't get to your question, don't worry, we'll get an answer for you. We'll make sure of that. I have a few things to let you know. We have a lot of coverage from HIMSS coming up. So be sure to follow us on all of our social channels. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also Spiceworks for the spice heads out there. Be sure to check out some of the HIMSS stuff. We also have a great magazine, Health Tech Magazine. So we'll have a URL for you in the comments. Be sure to check that out too. Just a lot of great information here from HIMSS this year. So next time we will see you from Dell Technologies World back here in Vegas, April 30th through May 3rd. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining and keep on teching.